Hi, welcome everyone to PopCultX. This week we're talking about all things Spider-Man, maybe Project Runway, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. So let's go ahead and get into it. Danny, how are you?
I am doing well. How about yourself?
Doing pretty good. Good.
Yeah, you mentioned a lot of things we're going to talk about. But one thing you didn't say was the new Twisted Metal series on the Peacock Network, starring Anthony Mackie. And of course, it's based off of the PlayStation game by the same name, Twisted Metal, and it's pretty fun. I mean, it's interesting. It has a lot of different characters in it. Like I said, Anthony Mackie's the lead. Him and Stephanie Beatrice, I think her name is. She plays like his co-lead, and they do a good job of recreating the fun feeling from the video game series that I used to play a lot. So yeah, there's like 5 or 6 games of that. It basically, the game is centered around you take control of a vehicle, and you go and you battle other vehicles with weaponry, and if the last person standing wins, right? Type of thing. So it's like the whole Fortnite before Fortnite was around, but with cars. So it's pretty fun. It's good. Although I will say this though, with the series, and I don't know if this is good or bad, but I saw a little clip of Anthony Mackie now as Falcon, right? And as Captain America. And all I could picture him now is just as the Twisted Metal character. So it was weird because I was watching that and I was like, the same sort of humor, his delivery style that he has. And all I pictured was him, he's like a milkman, a delivery person in the Twisted Metal series. And all I saw was that. So maybe it's just something that I have to mentally get past once the new Captain America movie comes out. Maybe I'll go back and watch the Falcon and Winter Soldier series just to like kind of replace that viewpoint of his. But it was interesting. I don't know if that happens to anyone else or to you, Gabe, where like you see a person, an actor in one role, and then it kind of like just like morphs the way you see him in other roles.
I'm pretty good with being able to use my imagination and get.
Hey, what are you saying?
So like, because I mean, there's been a couple actors that have played like a couple of superheroes. Like, what's the guy that played Deadpool?
Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Reynolds was like Green Lantern, Deadpool.
Josh Brolin.
Which one?
Was it Josh Brolin? Is that his name?
Yeah. He did Thanos and
Cable. Yeah.
You had the guy that did Captain America was Human Torch. So all of those people, I enjoyed all of the different people that they've played. So like Halle Berry played Catwoman and Storm. I think that I just try to really get into the movie and allow them to inhabit that character.
Yeah.
And forget about what I know of them from other films. Yeah, but I think the maximum is like 2. I don't think anyone's ever done 3 different superheroes. I think the maximum would have to be 2. Like maybe 3 would be pushing it.
That'd be interesting. I wonder who we could get one of those, like Ryan Reynolds, to play a different character or something, like Josh Brolin to go do another voice. I don't know. Maybe even get like Bradley Cooper into the MCU now. Or somehow as himself, not just the voiceover.
Yeah. He did, when you saw the last movie with Rocket, did you feel that his voice changed at all?
I think for the young Rocket, he did change it a little bit. I felt like he did alter it, and it makes sense. Because it's a younger, more less worldly person. It's a little more naive. And so I think it fit the character, but not for the older Rocket or the normal, whatever. I think it stayed the same.
Yeah. I felt like there was like a little bit of a difference with the choices that he was making to do the voice, but maybe I was just me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this video game, how old is it that you said you played it when you were a kid?
95.
So wow.
Wasn't a kid, but the first PlayStation, so 1995 is when it was first released, Twisted Metal 1. And I remember my cousin and I this was before the internet really was multiplayer type thing. So it was when you had to play, if you wanted to play multiplayer, 2-player, it was on the same screen. So you split the screen. So we would play for hours, like fighting each other and stuff. It was a lot of fun. I have good memories of that game. So I'm glad that the series is building upon that. I mean, it's not exactly it. They've already, I guess, teased season 2, which I haven't seen the end of it yet. So I haven't seen that last episode that teases it, but it's going to be more like the tournament type of style for season 2. Yeah. It's going to be interesting. So
nice. So thinking back of when you were a kid or when you were younger, what other video games would you like to see adapted into movies?
Ooh, good question.
Or TV shows?
Good question. So like Dungeons and Dragons is already out there. I played that a lot as a kid. Video game. Oh man, there was a game called Bionic Commando, which kind of like makes me feel like Winter Soldier in a way. So that would be a fun game to play. Metroid would be a good one. Of course, people now know that the lead character superhero in that is female, but at the time we didn't know that when we first played Metroid. So I thought that might be an interesting movie or a game to bring to life in a series or a movie. I would like to see that one.
Right on. That'd be cool. I'm not a big video game fan, so I can't really say that there'd be one that I want to see.
Well, do you remember playing any games as a kid that you would like to see? I mean,
like just any game period.
Yeah.
God, I can't really think of one. Yeah, I can't really think of any games that I would think, oh, that wouldn't turn into a really good movie. There's been so many that they've turned into like Rampage, Battleship, that were not good. So
let me ask you this question.
I can't really think of anything that would be really good.
Did you see the movie Pixels? Adam Sandler.
I didn't.
Okay, that has like brings in like Pac-Man. What's that snake game?
Centipede,
yeah. So it incorporated them into the mix there, Q*bert and stuff. So that was pretty fun.
Yeah,
a lot of old arcade style games.
Yeah, maybe Dig Dug. Would that be one that they could turn into a movie where you're just digging through the dirt?
Sure, why not?
2 hours or 2.5 hours of just
someone just digging.
Yeah.
What was a Pitfall? That'd be interesting. Kind of like a Indiana Jones type of film, you know?
Yeah.
But he's always just repeating the same levels and the same scenes all over. That'd be funny.
Yeah. Right on. Well, speaking of childhood and memories of games and things like that, there used to be a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle video game I remember as a kid that I played. I actually just saw the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle.
Oh, nice.
But I think it's Mutants of Mayhem.
Mutant Mayhem, yeah.
Yeah. Excuse me. Pretty good. It was really entertaining. The cast that they got is really good. The voices of the turtles, I think they casted really young, like teenage boys. Yeah. So it actually sounds really realistic, and I think that they did a good job with that, rather than casting like adults to try to do teenage voices. And they just did really good. Superfly with Ice Cube, I think, was really genius casting. He did a really good job with that. And then Jackie Chan as Master Splinter was really good. But it's really entertaining. You kind of feel for them, because it's one of the themes is like wanting to belong to the community, because they feel kind of lonely, just the 5 of them in the sewers. So that's something I think a lot of young people can relate to. And then ultimately how that gets reconciled is kind of interesting and part of the plot. But really fun movie. I really like the animation style. Kind of harkens back to the Miles Morales Spider-Verse movies. Kind of that graffiti sketch style of art, which is really cool.
Yeah. I mean, from what I've seen from the trailers, it looks great. I mean, it does have, like you said, that style, animation style. Kind of reminds me of like the latest Puss in Boots movie, The Last Wish, where it's kind of like a mix of like traditional animation, anime, graffiti style, all just thrown together.
Oh, I didn't know they had that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And Nimona as well also had that type of style. So I think that's moving forward. I guess that's just how they're going to be for films, which I'm okay with. It's great.
Yeah, I think it's really cool to see a different style of animation rather than what we're kind of used to or what we were growing up with.
Or even just now with Disney Pixar just being all CGI kind of, I don't want to say robotic, but just, there.
Yeah. Yeah, it brings a different a tone to it, which is really cool. The other thing that was really cool is the music that they chose. They chose a lot of like early hip hop, which fit really well with, them living in New York and just the whole aesthetic of the film. So they did a really good job with that as well.
Yeah, the music, the score was composed by Atticus Ross and oh goodness, his name, Nine Inch Nails.
Trent Reznor?
Trent Reznor, yes, they did the score for it. So I was going to ask you how you thought that played out.
It went really well, and again, I'm shocked that Trent Reznor is doing more kids films. Like, I just can't get over the fact that like his early career was so adult, and now he's like doing every kids movie that he can.
Well, I don't know if it's just every kid's movie, but it just happens to be that's what he's doing. Wow. But I was listening. We talked about that recently, right? About how you said that from going from like his adult music where it's geared towards now scoring films. But I was listening to a lot of Nine Inch Nails, and you can kind of hear that, I think, in the musicality of it. If you just listen to it, you can hear how even back then it's lending itself to a grander scope, more of a film cinematic score. I was just envisioning that when I was listening to just the music, not so much the lyrics or watching the visuals, but just the actual music itself.
I could see that. Yeah, they definitely had some very interesting visuals when it came to the music of Nine Inch Nails. So, yeah, I could see how it translates well to movies.
Yeah.
Speaking of that same era of Nine Inch Nails, I forgot to mention I saw the Smashing Pumpkins last week, and that was really fun. I saw the opening band was Stone Temple Pilots, and Smashing Pumpkins was the headliner. So it was like full on like retro throwback to the 90s when Smashing Pumpkins, Siamese Dream was like one of my favorite albums of that time. It still is. And they sound great. They did a really great job.
I was going to ask you that. So the knock on Smashing Pumpkins is always that they're a studio band, right?
Yeah.
That their live performances were always are rumored to be less than. I never saw them live, so I can't say just from what I've seen like on clips and stuff. So, but you said they sounded great.
Yeah, they sounded really great. I have no complaints. They sounded really good. Darcy, the original bassist, was not part of the concert. I don't think she plays with them anymore. But I think notoriously Billy Corgan played, I think, all the instruments on all of the records, or did a lot of the instrument playing, and so maybe that's where it didn't translate live, because like he had to rely on other people to play the instruments. But James Iha and what's the drummer? I forget the drummer's name. They both sounded really great, and Billy sounded really great. It was a really fun concert.
That's cool.
It was a real trip to see kids that are in like 17 and 18 in like a mosh pit and like wearing Doc Martens and flannel shirts. And I was like, how did they know this? Like, did their parents teach them this? Like, it's so weird to like have them listening to music when I was 17 and now they're 17, and it's like a carbon copy of our generation. It's so weird.
It's a trip. I mean, I think back like when we were going through it right at that age, and you think, okay, 30 years ago, it was like the 60s, and that's what our parents were listening to and whatnot, right? But you think like 30 years ago from now is the 90s. And that's a trip to me. That's really, I still think of, when I think 30 years ago, I still think it's the 60s, 70s, not the 90s.
Yeah, but there were literal like kids that if you would have taken them in a time machine and put them in like 1995, they would have fit in perfectly. Like
That's
you would
awesome.
not be able to tell the difference. Like the way they dress, their attitude, like it was so just so weird to see them. It was really interesting. And to
Except,
see people like our generation just like, still rocking out to like bands that they grew up on was really cool. Cause
yeah.
age is just a number. So you can still go and have fun and listen to music that you liked when you were a kid.
I was talking to my sister about something similar to that, and because now a lot of the bands that what we grew up with are also still performing, like you said, but now
Yeah.
we have the money to go watch them, right?
Yeah.
To go actually see them perform more than we were able to maybe in our youth. So that's maybe what's driving that. And yeah, those parents of those kids, they did something right if that's how they're flourishing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's real funny. It's a mind fuck to see kids literally like act like you did when you were a kid. And I don't know if they even realize that they're like just copying us, or if they're just
Uh,
like aware, like if that's just the trends and they think, oh yeah, this is cool, like it's kind of a throwback, but they're literally dressed exactly like us. It's so weird.
Interesting, interesting.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
but anyway,
those
it was a fun
fighters.
concert. They had so many good songs that they played. Stone Temple Pilots was really good. Obviously, it's an iteration of Stone Temple
Right.
Pilots without Scott Weiland. They did make an announcement to like kind of dedicate a song to him. So that was kind of sad, but you know, it's still good that the rest of the band members are able to kind of still create music and have a concert without him, because I think it's unfortunate that something bad happens to one of the band members that it like just stops the band. So
Mhm.
I'd rather see them continue in an iteration or a different form of the band than just stop altogether.
That's yeah. That's been like a not a hotly debated topic, but just a topic. So the lead singer or someone passes on, and like you said, does the rest of the band just dissolve? Kind of like say Nirvana, right? And they went on, and then Dave Grohl went on and did Foo Fighters, or like what's the other band that I'm thinking of? Sublime, right? Sublime passed away, and then years later they bring in with Rome, right? Or like you said now, Stone Temple Pilots, or even I mean, no one can replace Chris Cornell, so I don't know how Soundgarden would do it, but
Yeah.
just yeah. So, do those musicians or those other bandmates? Do they? I wonder how that debate happens. Do they say like, okay, we're all a good team. He was just part of it. Do we continue on without him, or do we just dissolve? That's an interesting topic, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I think it depends on the band, to be honest. That there are some bands that just wouldn't be the same with a different lead singer,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's some bands that can kind of continue on.
Mm-hmm.
I was a real big fan of Sublime, so when Bradley passed away, I would think, oh, no one can replace him. Like he was Sublime,
Right.
but there is a lot to be said about like just going and hearing the music, even if it's sung by someone else, just to reminisce and relive
Yeah,
those
that's
old
true.
memories,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of cool. Um, but I can't see like a Nirvana with a different lead
Right.
singer. But
And yeah, like with Queen with Adam Lambert, right? It's like,
yeah,
is it really Queen without Freddie Mercury?
yeah, I mean, or maybe it's a time thing. I don't know. Like, I don't know if I necessarily would go see Queen with Adam Lambert, but I saw Stone Temple Pilots and I enjoyed it. So
Yeah.
I think it just depends on how they do it, what bands it is, and if they can get someone. I think it's someone. It would have to be someone that's not trying to outdo or replace the lead singer,
Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
playing homage to them.
Yeah, I think that's right. But then does it feel less like the band itself and more like a cover band of
Yeah.
their own songs? So that's weird. I mean, how do you get past just being a cover band of your song? I guess you have to introduce and write new music with the new replacement performer,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I think most of them don't do new music. They kind of just do the hits because they know people just want to relive those
Yeah.
moments.
Yeah.
But yeah, outside of that, I saw Smashing Pumpkins. They were great. Saw the Turtle movie. Is there anything else that you kind of saw or got into this week?
I finally watched Across the Spider-Verse.
Oh, nice.
Yes, so that's what led me to want to talk about all things Spider-Man and Spider movies, because it dawned on me that there are so many of them.
Yeah.
There's like, what, 4, 3, 2, there's like at least 10 different films maybe more if you include like Venom, Morbius, who are.
Wait, did you count backwards?
No, I don't think so. 4, 3. Well, because I said there's 3 Spider-Man movies with Tobey Maguire, 2 with 4 with Tom Holland, if you include Avengers films, whatnot. 3 with Tobey Maguire, 2 with Andrew Garfield, 2 now with Miles Morales as a lead character, 2 with Venom, 1 with Morbius, Spider-Man adjacent films.
Yeah.
There's so many. And I just thought it would be a good topic to really just dive into a little bit and share what we thought about those films. And I guess the best place to start would be with Spider-Man trilogy with Sam Raimi's trilogy with Tobey Maguire.
Yeah. I thought they were really good. Those are the ones that I sort of like. That's the introduction, right, to Spider-Man movies. Seeing him on the big screen. I mean, I really like the Spider-Man movies. I've seen every single one of them. They're fun.
Yeah.
Maybe that this is a controversial statement. I don't know. But like, is there a big difference between a lot of the films? Like the way that there is a different vibe with like the Batman films? Or is it sort of a rehashing of the same thing?
That's one of the questions I was going to bring up. That's a very good question.
Because like the Batman films have a definite different vibe every time they came. Like every sort of iteration has a different vibe, good or bad. Spider-Man movies, it's like it's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah,
it's just a different actor.
Yeah. That's what I was gonna say. Like, okay, so the first 3 Spider-Man movies with Tobey Maguire that you're talking about, they were great. They're fun. Introduced a lot of people more to who Spider-Man was outside of the comic book universe, right? For me, especially because I wasn't really heavily into comic books. I know, of course, knew of Spider-Man, but didn't really follow it that much. So getting to see him on the big screen, getting to see him in live action was great. After the 3rd film, then they announced, we're making a new Spider-Man with a different lead character, and it's going to be called The Amazing Spider-Man. To me, at that point in my time, with my knowledge of comic books, I had no idea why. I had no idea what the difference was between the Amazing Spider-Man and regular Spider-Man, and why it mattered, and why they needed to recast. Why didn't they just stick with Tobey Maguire? And it did have still that same feel. So it really didn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Why they did that. I mean, Andrew Garfield did a good job, I guess. And it was, and then you could say the same thing for Tom Holland, right? He did a good job. Still has the same quips, the same wittiness that Spider-Man is known for. And he brings it in. And of course, it accumulates with Spider-Man No Way Home, where all 3 of them are in the same film.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I have no complaints when it comes to the Spider-Man films. They're all entertaining. I liked them all. I just don't think that the directors or the whoever the people involved in the filmmaking process, that they really did anything all that out of the box when it came to their version of the Spider-Man, right?
Yeah.
Whereas Batman, you have, a kind of quirky Tim Burton. Then you got the Joel Schumacher, like corny, cartoony. Then you got like the really dark, gritty. It just
Christopher Nolan did
vibes and feels to each of the Batman films and the Batman actors and the Spider-Man. And I don't know if it's because it's Spider-Man and maybe you can't make him that dark, or you can't make him. I don't know. Maybe they feel like they were a little bit trapped within the confines of what it is to be Spider-Man. But
that's true.
I just, there really is not that big of a difference between any of the films. Like, how can you say like one's your favorite over the other when they're all pretty much, it sort of like reminds me of when Shakespeare says like really there's like 5 stories and you're just telling the same story over again.
Yeah.
It's the same story over again.
Yeah.
And it's like the same characters, the same portrayal, same like white guy basically playing Spider-Man until we got Miles Morales. And Miles Morales is changing it because it's a different tone. It's a different look of the film, different music. Obviously not a Caucasian actor. It's a completely different version of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And I think that really shook things up.
Yeah.
And really excited me about the Spider-Man franchises because it was so outside of the box. Animation style, music, diversity, everything was just so different, right, than what they did before. So it really was like a real explosion of what Spider-Man could be or what the universe had in store for us outside of just more of the same.
Absolutely. That is exactly correct. That's my feelings perfectly. So like Into the Spider-Verse finally moved the ball forward when it comes to Spider-Man movies. Yeah. And it really set the tone of like what you said, what they can be and what the universe can evolve to. And I rewatched Into the Spider-Verse before I watched Across the Spider-Verse because I wanted to, get back into that zone of it again. And I did notice one cool thing real quick. So there's a time when Miles Morales needs to call someone for help and he's looking at his phone. And before he chooses Uncle Aaron, right above it, it says B. Bendis. So I thought that was a cool little clever nod to, of course, Brian Michael Bendis, who created the character Miles Morales. I didn't notice that the first time because, I wasn't really into who comic book writers were. So I didn't really pay much attention to that. But when I saw that this past time, it was like, oh, I was just so excited to see that. It was really a fanboy moment in a way because knowing now who Brian Michael Bendis is, it's just really cool to see that. But Across the Spider-Verse was just excellent. It really was. I mean, was it better than the first one? I don't know, but I did really enjoy the different viewpoints, how they started out with Gwen Stacy as her viewpoint, her story really, and it changed it up from, who was their narrator and the main focus point was going to be on. So I thought it was really cool. I especially loved the score and the music and the drums that they used to push the vibe of and the tone of the story. But it was just so good, and it just made possible or showed what was possible if filmmakers and storytellers take big swings and think outside the box when it comes to telling a Spider-Man story.
Yeah, for sure. So cool. I mean, they are my favorite Spider-Man films.
Absolutely.
If you're thinking of outside of just Peter Parker, Spider-Man, the whole shebang, they definitely are my favorite.
Well, Peter Parker's in there many times over.
Yeah. A version of, Yeah,
I thought it was really cool where Peter B. Parker showed up with his kid Mayday in the film. And you see him that that he was just kind of like dragged in last minute because he's in a robe. He's in his little slippers. So he wasn't planning to be there. And then Miguel O'Hara, Spider-Man 2099, summed him up with his little watch thingy, I'm sure, to go over the plan that they had talked about. But I just thought it was such a great film. It really was. I enjoyed Spider-Man, the India version. I enjoyed seeing that. It was just...
I think Spider-Punk was like the standout and stole the show.
Yeah, Spider-Punk was awesome. Not only just his animation style, but just his, the whole punkness of him, down with corporate environment or whatnot, I guess. But it was just so cool. The whole movie, I thought it was just a great way to push the Spider-Man movies forward. I'm looking forward to Beyond the Spider-Verse once that gets rolling again. That's going to be the accumulation of the film, especially with the villain Spot, right? Mm-hmm. And I remember reading Spot. I think he was in a Daredevil comic book. He fought Daredevil for a little bit. So was it Daredevil or was it Hawkeye? It was one of the two. so seeing him on the big screen, even in animation, was really cool because I knew of that character already.
Yeah, I could see him fighting Hawkeye because like Hawkeye could shoot an arrow into one of the holes and it comes right back out at him. I think that would be really interesting. I really want to see what they do with Miguel O'Hara. I'm a big fan of his, and hopefully would see something spin off for him.
Yeah.
You know, that would be really cool to see a version of his own movie come out.
Yeah. I mean, it could even be like based on like the book that I'm reading right now.
Yeah.
Why not? It's really cool. So yeah, Spider-Man movies themselves, though, would you say you have are more inclined to Batman or Spider-Man films?
I mean, thinking about it, if you were to take out the Miles Morales films, hands down Batman.
Well,
but because I do love the Miles Morales movies so much, it's kind of hard to say. But I would think that just slightly Batman Returns is like one of my favorite.
Okay.
I that's just like a near perfect film for me.
I can't argue with that.
Yeah.
I think I've tried once and I failed. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I still think of the Spider-Man films, if I'm just going to compare within there or against Batman, Into the Spider-Verse is still the best for me. Yeah. Amongst all those movies, even against like The Dark Knight, which is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Into the Spider-Verse tops it because of its storytelling style, the way it brings in everyone, its whole tone and vibe. I just thought it was so cool. Now, did you notice any of the cameos in Across the Spider-Verse that might have stood out to you?
As far as like other characters?
Yeah, other characters maybe that were people might not recognize, or maybe they were quick nods to like some of the other films.
I can't really remember which ones right now. No.
Okay. Well, I just saw it, so I probably can know. Donald Glover as the Prowler.
Yeah.
That one stood out to me because it's really a nod back to Spider-Man Homecoming with Tom Holland, where he plays. They never call him the Prowler, but he's a criminal in New York from Brooklyn who says that, his nephew that lives there, so he's trying to do right by him or something like that. He's a criminal who has a nephew who lives in Brooklyn. So that was like saying that he was Aaron Davis, of course, who is Miles Morales' uncle. So I thought that was really cool. Seeing the very end of that movie where he's now in a different universe was interesting. And of course, now Miles Morales is the Prowler. I don't care about spoilers because it's been out long enough. So I thought that was really cool. And I'm interested to see where they go from there.
Yeah, for sure. Me too.
You all choked up.
Yeah, it's a lot. Gets me emotional.
I mean, there was another part in that movie that really made me think, oh, goodness, I can't think of it now. But anyway, never mind. I can't think of it. It'll come to me after we're done recording. So
at like 2:00 in the morning, you're gonna wake up from slumber.
Well, there was another. So we talked about a film that I saw recently that used drums a lot as part of its score. And I was up probably 4 or 5 in the morning trying to think of what movie that was. And I couldn't remember what it was. It was so annoying. Like there was like they used drums pretty much throughout the whole film. And I still can't to this day think of what it was. So
Google drum movie.
I have. Trust me, I did. I looked up because I thought it was one of like the best picture nominees. So I went through all those lists and listened to the scores. It was none of those. So it was a film that maybe I'll just have to go back and watch all of our past episodes and figure out which one I was talking about.
Yeah.
Haven't done that yet. So.
All right.
But yeah, so what about you guys out there who are watching or following along? What's your favorite Spider-Man film or moment in Across the Spider-Verse? Let us know in the comments. let us know what film you like the best. What's your favorite Spidey movie? Or where do you think they should go next with the Spider-Man universe? I will say I did like the Craven trailer, so I'm curious to see where that's going.
I'm a little, I don't know. I'm hesitant to see. I don't like the fact that like he has the power of like a lion bites him, and that's how he like. I kind of like them to stick to the origins of the comics.
Okay.
When they start messing around with stuff, then sometimes it doesn't do well.
Yeah, and I was reading. We talked about Guardians of the Galaxy, and if I was gonna go pick up Guardians of the Galaxy comic books, I did pick some up, and I picked up the 2013. I guess I don't know if it's a reboot, but it's also written by Brian Michael Bendis. So it's so Star-Lord or Peter Quill is not the son of like Ego. That's from the MCU. He's like the son of a Spartex royalty from some other planet or something, which I thought was really interesting. So he's like he's like a prince, right? Yeah. And he's out there and he doesn't want to take his father's place or join his father's side because he doesn't like the way his father's trying to dominate that part of the galaxy or something like that. So it's pretty cool.
Right on. Reminds me I have to go to the comic book store tomorrow.
Yes, so do I. Anything you're hoping to find or looking to get?
I don't know what's coming out tomorrow, so I'll have to keep my eyes open, see what comes out. But okay. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to surprise myself.
I'm on the hunt tomorrow for the What If Moon Knight series, especially the cover that was done by David Mack. It kind of looks like the Daredevil Echo and the other, that silver style type thing. It looks really cool. I think I shared it on like my threads or Twitter or wherever it was. Yes. But that looks really cool. It's basically if Moon Knight hadn't been resurrected as the Fist of Khonshu, like, and someone else came in his place or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I'm looking forward to reading that, even if I can't find the cover I want. So
nice.
So that's,
right on. Well, that's where I will be tomorrow or today, depending on
when you're watching this,
or listening to this or watching this. Yeah.
Or last week or last year.
Yeah. That's where I was. Yeah.
Time is relative, right? So it's right now. This is where you're at right now. Maybe you're in the store right now as we talk.
I probably am.
Well, that's all I got for this week, Gabe. So everyone out there, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for liking, sharing, subscribing, and leaving all your fun, fabulous comments. Be sure to do so again and to keep tuning in, and we'll see you guys the next time.
Stay safe, everyone.